Hello! Hey. Today we are here. This is actually our 2nd year anniversary today. Hopefully I'll post this video today. And then, otherwise, it would have been our anniversary yesterday.
Or whenever it goes up.
But we're filming today on our anniversary, and we decided to do an anniversary edition to celebrate. So this is Galaxy Trucker, the anniversary edition. But before we get into all that, let's make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell down there so you don't miss any of our future anniversaries.
That's right.
Because you got lucky and got here on this anniversary, but you may not get here next time. Unless
or if it's your anniversary, you can come
you can come visit us on your anniversary and post and let us know it's your anniversary. And if your anniversary happens to be the same as our anniversary today, then maybe you're part of our video crew.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, Rob, what can you tell us about this game?
All right. So I got a lot of information for you. So Galaxy Trucker Anniversary Edition. This came out in 2012. It's not in print anymore. It's the rank is 836. Rated is 7.6.
No, 836 was the new version.
That's the new version. All right. Well, this version overall ranking was 239 with an 8.2 rating.
Yeah, the original Galaxy Trucker.
So it does play 2 to 5 players. It says 1 to 2 hour playtime. That sounds about accurate. Designers Vlada Chvátil. Now, forgive me, the artists. I'm not going to be able to pronounce this correctly. The artists are Tomas Kusarovsky, Naimi, and Radim Peck. Published by Czech Games and Rio Grande Games. Again, this is out of print, so you're not going to be able to find it unless you want to spend a pretty penny for it. So I saw some stores selling it for $235. Wow. I saw on eBay selling it at $262.65. Geek Market had the cheapest at $225. But like Randy said, they have reprinted the base game. And so the base game you can get at like Card House for $39.95 or $27.99 for their price at Card House. There's one expansion out for it that's called Keep On Trucking. $29.95 retail, $27.99 at Card House.
I think it's $20.79.
$20.79. There you go.
But yeah, this version incorporates all of the expansions up to the point where this came out. There was one further expansion that came out after this, and that was the missions expansion, which came out because the app had like these missions built in that you could do as an added feature.
A lot of people liked it.
They liked it, so they ended up releasing a board version of it. So yeah, this incorporates everything up until the point it came out.
And we don't know the difference between this version and the new version because we haven't seen that.
I don't know what's in the new version.
I know the box is
it's much smaller.
It's much smaller. It's got really good artwork on the cover, but that's all I've seen.
But the original base game was smaller than this too.
Yes,
this incorporates
this has got so much in it.
It's huge. So yeah, it takes up a ton of real estate, and honestly, I haven't played any expansion stuff yet. I've always just played the base game. Rare that we get to get it to the table. I only get to play the base game. I want to get into playing some of those expansions to see what they add. But yeah, this is one. We'll get into my favorites discussion later, but it was on my top 10 list. I'll say that, so you're already go. It's going to.
What's the overall premise of the game, so people know? Before we get
basically,
into it,
this is a very unique game in the sense that there's multiple parts to the game, and you've got a quick draft attribute where it's simultaneous.
That's the part that's really unique.
And you're building your spaceship, and then after that you have missions you go on based on these cards that come up, and they could potentially destroy your ship. So you build it to only watch it fall apart, which I actually enjoy. But I know, Rob, we have a different opinion on this one. But yeah, you're trying to get to the end of your mission with as many points and as many of your crew still surviving at the end. And you might come across lots of things like pirates and asteroids and plagues and various tragedies along the way. Or you might find treasure along the way or supplies. Yeah. So it's a really unique combination on this game. Let's talk about the quality of the components in the box, though. Now, you get these really cool-looking astronauts.
And you got aliens.
Yes, and you got little aliens that are shaped.
They really don't look like it. They look like they could.
Do you really know what an alien looks like?
I've seen movies, and they don't look like that.
All right. So yeah, aliens. Yeah, I think the little
But
figurines
the astronauts are very cool.
And you've got little energy discs, which are unique shape.
Energy pills.
Energy
Yeah, they look like Tic Tacs.
Yeah. Do not eat the energy
They
pellets.
do not eat them.
You got little spaceships that look like triangle bases because of the way they go on the board, but they look like kind of a space shuttle. Then you've got a bunch of cardboard.
A bunch.
Now the cardboard is kind of the detractor in the game because
The player boards I thought were decent.
they're decent.
They're decent. They're not great.
I don't think the money is too bad.
Yeah, but the individual space of the ship parts.
Yeah, and that's the part you're going to jostle around the most.
A lot.
And they're already like peeling, and we haven't played it that many times.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's not terrible, but we've seen damage to the corners.
Yeah.
And that's from just shuffling them up and then grabbing them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
and they get handled a lot.
Yeah.
You have wooden cubes for all your different resources that you can pick up along the way.
You got a sand timer.
Yeah, sand timer. You get cards. The cards have no linen finish. They're very slick and smooth, but they have good thickness to them. They're not bad.
You got some dice.
Yep. And then there's a storage system for all the different components for all the different games, which actually puts everything nicely in the box.
Right.
So it's well designed. I don't know if it's designed to handle sleeving, though. I haven't tried sleeving this because, again, we haven't played it that many times, and you don't shuffle the cards that much.
Not much.
So, all in all, I'm going to give it a 7, I think. I think I like the bits on it, and apart from the cardboard tiles, which is a big detractor, I think that's really, everything's decent. Nothing's outstanding. But, I do like the figurines that they've included.
I am going to go a little lower. I'm going to go with 6.
Okay.
Because of the quality of the cardboard. I mean, it's just a big detractor as far as like being able to reuse your game over and over again.
I agree with Kevin, but I'm going lower for a different reason. When I get an anniversary edition game, I'm expecting a little bit of an upgrade and make it a little bit nicer. Again, the player boards I think are nicer. I don't remember them being this big in the original game.
No, I think they are.
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
But it shows you how often I play it. But I just would expect something a little bit nicer, especially these cardboard tiles.
True.
They don't even necessarily have to be thicker, but just a better quality cardboard. I'm expecting a little bit more for an anniversary edition, especially if you're going to be chucking out $200. Now, granted, that's probably a premium price because it's out of print, but I'm sure it was at probably $100, $150 when
it was
bought it originally.
Wasn't a cheap game. I mean,
so for it being that expensive, and granted, you get all the expansions, I get that. But anniversary edition tells me, just look at like Ticket to Ride. Those anniversary editions are gorgeous.
They were not that old compared. They were 2012.
Yeah, the first Ticket to Ride, I think it's been out for a while, and you got those awesome train sets, and it's just that's what I expect for an anniversary edition. So I agree with the 6 though.
Yeah, I can view this as a compilation. It's definitely not enhanced.
I get that. I get that you get a lot for it you get a lot of bang for your buck, I guess. But I just do expect a little bit more for an anniversary edition. I agree.
Yeah. Let's talk about theme. This thing is oozing.
Yeah, oozes.
Everything about this, from constructing the ship, the space backgrounds on it. They've got player boards that look like a certain spaceship that you might find.
I disagree, but
if you're trekking through the
we
stars.
agree to disagree.
And they clearly, some of them look like Space Invaders type ships.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah.
They've captured lots of that into the theme
just
of
even
game.
the font of the money is kind of cool. I like that.
So I really like everything about the theme of this game. The way that it sucks you in with it. You feel the tension as your cards come up and start tearing apart your ship, and the competitiveness of trying to grab the tiles before your opponents do, and then watching what they're putting out so you can snag it if it fits your ship. There's just a lot of interaction while it's simultaneous play. Thematically, I'm at a 10 on this. I think it's an amazing game for the theme wise.
Thematically, I don't know if I'll go quite a 10. I will go a 9. I think they did a really good job thematically.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure why I'm not going to 10, but it just I think there's because theme also includes artwork, and I don't love the artwork.
Oh, you don't?
I don't. I think they did a decent job on the artwork, but I think they could have done better.
I do like the artwork. I agree, though. I'm at a 9, and I think I do know why. One, there's a couple different ways to play the game, which Randy will go into. We did the simultaneous play. I don't care for that part of it.
Well, you're talking about the app. The app has different ways. The game doesn't.
The turn. I like the turn order play that you can do on the app. I think it's a lot easier. I'm not a big fan of people just being yelling, and it causes some anxiety for me. So I don't care for that aspect. So that's a big part of the game, though. It's a big part of the theme too. So I can't give it a 10 because that pulls me out of the game instead of immersing me in the game. So, but I respect it though, and I understand why it is, what it does, and the enjoyment that so many people get out of the game. So I don't want to detract it too much just because it's not my big deal. Yeah. So that's why I'm going to give it a 9.
All right. So moving on to Rulebook. Now, there's a bunch of rulebooks in this box because
there's so many expansions.
Yeah, you get basically the overview telling you kind of the what the different icons are in the tokens that you got in the box. You've got the Trucker's Guide to the Galaxy, which this is your starting book if you're playing your first game. It's got a first entry kind of easing you into the game section, and then it goes into the full rules in the back. But what's fun about these rules, and this is actually my favorite games rulebook, because there's a lot of little humor in this.
Well, I mean, I wanted to bring it up during this part. It's because, and I was going to ask you, because Vlad Chavato also did Dungeon.
Yeah, he does an amazing job.
So his rule books are always very well written with tongue-in-cheek humor, and I love that.
So it's like you're being inducted into this company that's going into space, and
it's almost like their handbook.
It's little bits of humor in there that basically they don't value your life at all, and they give you little tidbits of information that's kind of tongue-in-cheek humor.
Gameplay shows that
basically putting your life in danger, and every one of the rule books adds some of that to it. And it's just, they ease you into the gameplay, so it's not hard to learn, even though there's a lot going on in this game. Plus, the humor keeps you interested in reading them. And I really appreciate that. It's a 10. I mean,
Dungeon Lord and Dungeon Pets.
Dungeon Lord.
Yeah, that's the other ones. And we really enjoyed those.
They do an amazing, he does an amazing job with the rule books. And I don't mind just sitting and reading these rule books because they're fun to read.
So I haven't read this particular rule book, but if it's anything like Dungeon Pets and Dungeon Lord, I could say I could agree with the 10. So
I've not read the rule books.
But I've read the others and they're great. So.
All right, so moving on to gameplay. So this game, like I said, there's a lot to it. So you start out with your board first of all, you have 3 different levels of ships in the game.
What you're seeing here is
the final level. But you start with a much smaller ship to get you started. You mix all the
tokens, all these tiles are face down
in the middle, and they're all scrambled around. They have 3 sets of cards. When you're playing the first level, you're only using this first set. And it has on the board a space to tell you what goes into each stack of cards, because there's 4 stacks of cards, 3 of which that are available to look at during the game if you have time, which I never do. And then there's 1 that's buried and you can't look at it. But these basically will give you, if you have time, you can look at them and see what is coming during that mission that you're going on.
And that could be a big deal.
Yeah, but you're doing that while everybody's simultaneously grabbing tiles. So if you're looking, you're wasting time. You could have been grabbing tiles. Or else you wait until you've got your ship completed, at which point you could look at your leisure, but then somebody else might go ahead and start the timer.
Or you realize that you built your ship the wrong way and you get depressed.
Yeah, because you can't undo your ship. Once it's built, it's built. So, you're kind of at the mercy of what's going to come on these cards, and you either go in blind or you get to look at 3/4 of the cards coming, potentially, and know kind of what's coming. but you're putting at risk getting the tiles you need to build your ship to look.
To give somebody else.
And the different tiles will have things like weapons, like the guns that can go on the ship.
So you got the purple guns that point a specific direction.
And then there's ones that require batteries to power them up. They give you double gun, but they require a battery to charge them. There's engines that you have, and they have to obviously point backward.
Yeah.
Because and they have to have nothing behind them, or else it would burn up. So
and they're the same way as the guns. If they're green, they're usually double engines, but you have to power them up.
Yeah, exactly. There's also storage lockers for putting in different types of cargo that you pick up. And there's specialized cargo, the red hazardous cargo. You can only store in specific red.
Because they're radioactive.
Yeah. So there's a different cargo. Then you have your cabins for your astronauts. And each cabin can hold up to 2 astronauts, or they can hold 1 alien race. And you have 2 different alien races you can pick. Well, there's actually 3 in the game. There's
the expansion
third one adds in. Yeah, expansion adds another one. But basically, they have to have a breathing apparatus attached to the cabin in order to make it so that specific alien can live there.
Yeah.
So you have to strategize on getting those, but you also have to be careful because when you place those, if you place them adjacent, there are epidemics that can spread throughout your ship and end up killing off your aliens or your humans. So you got to be careful on that.
And we'll talk about the cards, but that's one of the things I kind of screwed up, and I didn't get enough astronauts. So if you get enough that's important. Astronauts are important.
Yeah.
But you're limited. They give you a specific shape for your ship, and in the first round in particular, you're very limited in
it's a much smaller ship.
But then again, you're also getting the easier cards, so you're going to have less.
Yeah, there's definitely the balance to it, but again, not having enough astronauts screwed me over.
Yeah, and it's very much like one of the pipe games where you're connecting things and they have to go certain directions. But in this case, there's 2 types of pipes. There's kind of a thicker single pipe.
3 types.
You got the single, you got the 2, and then you got the 3.
But the 3 are universal connectors. They can connect anything. So you've got to balance it because you have to have the right connectors and the right number of connectors off the different sides when you're placing, because you can't have loose ends touching into another space. You can have loose ends hanging off the ship if you want, but ideally you don't want to do that because it makes you more vulnerable and it makes your ship not as attractive when you pull it to port, because you get points for that too. So you're constructing your ship based upon the functionality of it, but also the aesthetic of it as well, which I really appreciate.
And there's even, we didn't go into it, but you even got shields. So shields could help out a lot.
A lot.
So
but they're only 2 directional, so you have to position them in such a way that you can cover all the different directions ideally, but again, requires batteries. So that means you got to store a lot of batteries.
And your batteries die out.
So every time you use the battery for something, you take a token off of it. And the most you can have in one battery is 3. Mostly I've seen 2s. I didn't know if there are any 1s or not. Were there 1s?
There's no 1s.
So 2s or 3s, and then once you use them, you lose them.
And they also can be stolen by pirates.
Because they're jerks.
Yeah, so you've got to balance how you're going to put it all out there strategically, but you're on a timer because even though the timer's not triggered,
once somebody finishes your ship, they turn that timer over, and then that's where the
stress really gets
the chaos ensues.
Especially if one person is very quick to build, or they can build a smaller ship and just race it on you.
It just kind of screw you over.
Yeah, and so you're trying to fill the board, and if you got an obsession of filling the board, which I do, you have to kind of throw that to the side because otherwise you're going to do badly at this.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of things to balance and considering, and then after that is the whole card play.
Right.
And that's where things really get interesting because based upon the turn order as you complete your ships, you're going to get a position on the starting,
on the
basically
track.
the race track, if you will. And then you're going to get the cards, and whoever's in the lead controls the deck. And they flip the card, and they have to face whatever comes first. So it may be a bonus. It could be a planet that has cargo that you can land on, and you get first pick at that. Or it could be you find an abandoned ship, and you fly to go and retrieve treasure, and you get money for that.
Or you can face pirates.
Or you can face pirates. Or you can have asteroids crashing into your
Or
hull.
you could be the one that the pirates just lower your face and just annihilate you because I get every level of the pirates. They suck at shipbuilding.
Because it's really about if you built your ship right and you have the most engines or the most guns,
astronauts,
the most astronauts, and then the aliens also give you bonuses for your ship, for your guns or your engines, depending on what variety you got. So you've got to keep all of that balanced, and then the expansions add in even more, but we haven't really explored all of that.
I could not imagine making this even more complex. I mean, there's a lot to this game. I don't think there's a lot to it. It's just that timing mechanism is what really adds the complexity to the game.
And I mean, it's really a unique experience to play this game.
It is.
It's not anything. I can't think of another game like this. I mean, there's games like that have Kitchen Rush, for example, has the doing things on a timer and quick response, simultaneous play.
Pendulum.
But there's nothing that has that coupled with a whole separate gameplay at the end. Where
I mean, Pendulum obviously came out way after this, but it's got a little bit of it. It's got like 2/3 of that same equation, where you're flipping the timers and you're kind of fighting for stuff, but you don't have that card play element.
And you're not building a tile placement. I mean, this has a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
it doesn't have engine building, really.
Yeah, it didn't have hand management or anything.
You build engines.
Yes, you're right. You do build engines.
Literally.
But no engine building game play.
So, I mean, I love how they meshed all that into this. It's such a unique, creative game, and it's really hard to compare it to anything else.
I agree. I can't think of anything that really has the same feel to it.
And if you do enjoy simultaneous play, tension-filled games, this one is going to be high on your interest list, I think. For me, it's a top 10 game. It's one that I come to and I enjoy it every time I play. It doesn't matter if I win or lose. It doesn't matter if my ship gets totally destroyed. I love it.
But he still whines about it when Miranda does so much better than he does.
But I love building the ship, and I love things happening to tearing it down. But I'll make sure I take someone with me.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
And now you feel
very
bad about
much.
it. Yeah, you don't even feel bad.
Nope.
Not at all.
No.
I'll feel better if it was Miranda.
I would have felt better if it was Miranda too.
So overall, I mean, is there anything that you think gameplay that you missed?
I think that covers most everything. I mean, whenever you get through the deck, whoever still survives.
We really didn't talk about the meteors
and the collecting of cargo. I mean, we didn't. Yeah, we briefly talked about that there are different kinds of cargo. But you actually collect cargo
by landing on the planets.
Yeah, but he talked about that. But if you survive at the end of the deck, whatever cargo you have left, each one's worth a certain amount.
Yeah.
But we really didn't talk about the meteors and how they can attack your ship.
Well, yeah.
Because they come in different directions. So they come in from the sides, from behind, or from the front. And if you've got weapons, then that can help block those meteors. If you don't have any openings, then that can kind of help with the smaller meteors.
Yeah.
And then, or if you have force shield, the shields, then that can help block as well. But that is brutal. That's what blows up your ship.
The asteroids and the pirate attacks, those can be really brutal. And that's where the fun of this is, because you think you've got the best ship, and then something comes and knocks out your engines.
It just knock off
one single weak point.
Yeah, it can knock off one, and it takes half your ship with it because it's connected to that one piece.
Exactly,
and it just falls off,
and you lose points for each missing piece that you lose. Up to a certain limit. They don't punish you brutally because they do set up.
It's brutal. Randy's lying. It's brutal.
So. But if you manage to survive with your at least one astronaut at the end, you have an engine. If you don't even have to have an engine to get in, as long as an open space doesn't come up. Because if an open space comes up and you don't have an engine, you're out. If you lose all your astronauts, you're out. So you got to be careful. Sometimes you can get a situation where your ship gets split down the middle and you get to decide which side is going to survive. That's fun too. Whenever your middle of your ship gets split, it's like, okay, which piece am I going to keep? I'm going to lose half my crew no matter what I do. Which side am I going to keep?
But for the most part, as long as you got some astronauts, then you can
Yeah.
You make it back to dock, and then you try and score some points.
And then you get points for the order in which you arrived at the dock. So whoever's furthest on the track, and then you get points for the best looking ship when you dock. So you may start out with a pristine looking ship where there's no loose endings, but after you get hit with those asteroids and pirates,
and somebody comes up and you're faster than them, but then they choose to use their battery to get just the same speed as you, so that you get to take the damage they're going to take anyway. Then you know that happens. I'm not bitter. Not bitter. Not bitter. Didn't happen to me.
A couple times.
So, I can't go less than a 10 because it's such a unique premise for a game, and it is so fun. It's just, it's one of the games I like to get out as much as I can, but I don't get at the table near enough because I know a lot of people that don't enjoy the high stress, high tension race to the grab tiles. And honestly, there's an app for it, and my Miranda gets her fix from playing the app, I know, so I don't get to play it as often with her, even though she does enjoy those kind of games too. But for me, it's a 10.
I'm nowhere near that high, but I think I did a pretty good job explaining why. It's that tension. I like tension in games, but it's that anxiety level that I don't care so much for. So, but again, I do respect this game. I understand where it's at in the hierarchy of board games and how much it's done for board gaming and how people love this game. I get that. So I don't want to knock it off for that. For me, I'll play it because Randy loves it so much, and I don't want to take that away from him and his enjoyment. So I'll still play it. But, it's a 6 for me overall. Wow. It's an okay game for me. But I'll play it if other people want to play it.
I'm right in the middle of them. I'm going to say an 8 because it's well-structured game. It's a well-thought-out game. I agree. I don't really care for the high anxiety, reach and grab your stuff. Try to build that ship as quickly as you can because that's just not how my brain works.
Right, me either.
But I can do it. I can't do it great, but I can do it. But there are other elements that may still keep it fun. Randy did say watching your ship break is fun. Sometimes. If my ship actually kind of survives, or if I have the opportunity to get after somebody for breaking my ship because they speed up, then yes, it's more fun.
Do you know how epic it is when you coast into the finish line? That is the best when you get there and you're just like, oh, I lost all my engines. And if an open space comes up, I'm hosed by just the fact that even though that's normally a safe card, it's like that one card get in the game for you, but then you manage to get the end with no engine to just coast in. It's like, yes.
But for me, it's kind of the opposite. I build a ship that is ugly as sin, not scoring me any points, and I look over to my left and I see Miranda's beautiful ship and how well constructed it is, and I'm like, bad work.
Yeah, she's painted it.
Yeah, I don't like to use colorful metaphors, but they pop in my head when I see such a great ship compared to mine.
I'm surprised she didn't have fuzzy dice.
Right.
The other really good thing about this game that we didn't really talk about is that you don't feel like it's taken a very long time.
No, it's a pretty quick game.
So if you're not having the best of times, you're not wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
So
now I will say there is a lot of administration between rounds.
There really is.
Reset all the tiles and flip them back up. That's kind of
and it's a table hog, like you mentioned.
It is. If this table is big enough for 4, I don't know if we would have been able to get 5 on here.
I don't think we would.
It would have been tough to have everybody be able to access it in the middle as well. Mm-hmm. But 4, I think, played fine on this. But yeah, it's definitely something you've got to have space for, and you got to have equal reach into the center pool. So yeah, I think that I can see. I understand your score.
Yep.
Don't agree with it, but I understand it.
And that's okay.
But yeah, I think yours is probably the happy medium because I'm probably skewed to the positive because I love this kind of game.
Right.
It's another one of the space games I don't get to play very often because Rob doesn't like Battlestar, doesn't like this.
Well, let me pepper this. So another game that a lot of people really like that I don't care for is Captain Sonar. for the
I love Captain Sonar
same
too.
reason. I don't like that anxiety that it adds. People yelling and so it's for the same reason. I don't want to detract from the game. So I get it. It's not for me.
All right, so that's our very varied opinions on Galaxy Trucker. And hopefully you get something out of it.
Let us know what you thought of it.
Let us know if you're Team Rob, Team Randy, or if
Team
you're
Kevin.
the safe middle of the road Kevin. All right, so until next time, bye.
Bye.